a little bit about yourself and
So from a professional standpoint or
personal first. I'm curious about you. Yeah.
um who am I outside of work?
Oh,
I'm a cyclist. I like to be on my bike. I love to be on my bike.
that's good.
I love being outside. I hike a lot. We have a boat, and so we're out on the water quite a bit once the weather warms up a bit. I like to read. I play piano. I like to crochet. Like I don't sit still very long, and like I could live without a TV, which I think
Yeah,
people
really
are like,
good.
what? Yeah, I could totally live without TV. So I'd say cycling is my biggest passion outside of work, though. So
That's really cool. How long have you been cycling?
I did my first MS 150, so 150-mile bike ride when I was 13.
Wow,
I've been riding since then.
that's impressive.
Yeah, we ride. My sister and I have ridden in quite a few states. So we'll either take our bike or we'll do an active travel vacation, and we'll rent bikes. And just ride wherever. I mean, we've seen Yellowstone from a bike. We've done some pretty cool stuff on a bike. So
That's really cool.
yeah,
I'm jealous. I'm a wannabe cyclist.
yeah.
I've invested in a bike that's worthy of being called a cyclist bike, but I'm getting there. My wife is a runner. She ran in college, mid to long distance, mainly mid. But I mean, I detest. I shouldn't say that. I really dislike the physical act of running. I get the pushing yourself and like the runner's high, and I've done some decently long runs, like 7 to 10 miles, but it's painful. Like it's physically just not enjoyable. And I always tell her like cycling is the opposite for me, because cycling is just in the right, it's just in that right balance of painful, but you can mentally check out and just like go.
Yes.
I love cycling, but I can't do that with running, because it's the physical pain is a little too much to drown out the mental voice. So
Yeah, I totally get that. People are like, what do you think about on your bike? Nothing. I think about nothing. That's why I do it.
And it's such a cool like battle you're having with yourself, because you go through these weird stages of you enjoy it, and then it's painful, and then you have to be in the moment, and then you have to be out of the moment. I go through all these stages of mental.
I play a lot of number games when I'm on my bike, so I pay attention to my average speed, my heart rate, stuff like that. And yesterday I was out doing a route that's pretty slow, because it's a lot of stop and go. There's some high traffic areas, there's lots of turning, and so just not one of our faster routes, and it's not one of my favorite routes. And I'm doing pretty good to hit 15 as an average speed on that route, which is that's a pretty low average for me on the distance ride. And yesterday I was headed up the last hill toward my house, and I was at 16 miles an hour. So I was thrilled, dropped to 15.9, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to work really hard to get my average speed back up to 16. I'm not stopping at 15.9.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it totally gives you that thing to push for, but it doesn't relate to anything else. So I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about the things I have to get done at home or whatever.
It's just very meditative. That's a good way to put it. For me, cycling can be meditative. Running, almost never meditative. It's always like brutally painful. So,
I get that.
So I'm curious how that ties into your professional work and learning. So kind of take me through the background of the business and a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I kind of, not that I'm on like two different career paths, but I kind of have I'm a behavior analyst, and so, or a behavior scientist. My background is in the science of learning and behavior, and so that has kind of taken me in two different directions, and which kind of always keeps me on my toes. I'm always, I like activity. I get bored if I'm doing the same thing for too long. so this has kind of challenged me to go in two different directions. You know, and what I do, I mean, besides being a business owner, I manage a caseload for each of my companies, and it's intense work. I mean, I'm working with kids and I'm having a blast doing it, but it's intense. And when I work hard. I have to play hard too, though. I kind of match that intensity when I'm on my bike and when I'm out doing the things that I love to be doing when I'm not working. So
awesome. So how did you touched a little bit on having sort of a dual career? So you're currently doing behavioral analysis for, like, you're working for other companies doing that?
No, so I own a company called Achieve, and we provide home and community-based therapy services, behavior therapy services for kids with autism primarily. Okay. And then my other company is FitLearningKC, and we tap into the same science of behavior, science of learning, but we hit an academic realm instead of behavior therapy. It's more academic in nature.
Gotcha. And with FitLearningKC, is this a supplemental education to regular, or is it a substitute?
Yeah, it can be either. You know, we will work with learners of all ages and abilities. Kids come to us because they might be falling behind. Some kids come to us as they're in honors courses and they're preparing for the SAT or, you know, whatever test may be coming up, and they just want to get an edge or an advantage over what their peers might be doing. Yeah. So no, we'll work with anybody.
That's really cool. So pretty wide varying offering. Do you have like a specific curriculum? I guess what kind of service packages do you offer and things like that?
Yeah, so the way an enrollment with Fit Learning works, a kiddo comes to us, we conduct a comprehensive assessment in a specific academic domain, so math or reading, logic. We have a writing curriculum. So we conduct the comprehensive assessment, pinpoint exactly where a kid's deficits might be, and build a curriculum tailored to them. So we've got a curriculum that we pull from, but we tailor that larger curriculum to meet the exact needs of the kiddo that we're working with.
Yeah, so the pricing and stuff will really vary depending on what their needs are.
So an enrollment is 50 hours from beginning to end, and that includes the initial assessment. It includes a reassessment at about 40 hours in, and for that 50-hour enrollment, we'll take a learner through their curriculum. We'll make curriculum modifications and adjustments as we go along. Everything we do is data-driven, so we collect data on every single interaction that we have with a learner during a session, and there are hundreds of interactions that we're tracking.
How are these recorded, if I can ask?
So we use what's called the standard acceleration chart, which is the coolest thing that we could possibly be tracking data on. It allows us to make predictions over time. So we know if our kids are trending in the right direction and if they're trending as quickly as we want them to. It's not a convention, it's not a standard convention that's really used outside the field of behavior analysis, but it really paints a nice picture of a kid's learning history and the trend.
How many data points do you think on average go into an individual's tracking?
So for each program that we have in a kiddo's curriculum, we run timings, and each timing converts to a data point. And so, you know, in a typical session, we're looking at any of the programs that a kid has. We're probably running 2 or 3, maybe 4 times, and between each of those timings, we're providing feedback about how to improve their performance on the next timing. So we always want to be going faster and getting more accurate with each timing.
So it's really kind of optimizing the learning experience for that individual based on real-time data, it sounds like.
Yes, yeah, I make decisions within the session about what our next goal should be, and a lot of that relates to yesterday's performance, things like that.
Can you give me like a real life example? Because I think I totally get the back of it, but I'd love to hear like a real life example.
Yeah, so a lot of kids come to us and they don't have the foundational skills that they need to be able to read. Unfortunately, a lot of public education has moved away from phonics. Phonics has a lot of science behind it. There is a lot of data that supports that readers need to be exposed to a phonics curriculum in order to be able to be solid, fluent readers. So a kiddo might come to us not knowing letter sounds, not knowing the vowel sounds, and so we'll pinpoint that deficit, and we'll start with sounding out a consonant vowel consonant word. So the word cat would be sounded out as cat. And we train that up until we have an identified aim, and our aims reflect what a fluent reader, how a fluent reader would perform. And so we want a kiddo hitting 80 sounds per minute in that particular program. We'll only run it for 15 seconds or 30 seconds, and then we multiply it out. But we really want that kid to be able to do it automatically. Every time they see the word cat, they should be able to sound it out, cat. And then we'll move on to higher order skills. Eventually that's the short vowel rule. Eventually we'll introduce the long vowel rule, things like that. So.
Wow, it's really cool because you're kind of marrying to, a very science-based background with a more traditional educational model.
Definitely.
So what, and you kind of touched on this, but like, do you have sort of a bread and butter clientele that, is your go-to, or is it pretty all over the place?
It's really all over the place. I mean, we really will. We've had clients, we've had grandmas come in because they want to learn how to read to their grandchildren. We've had English as second language learners come in because they want that promotion to the next position in their company. And the thing that was keeping them behind was being a disfluent reader. So yeah, I mean, we will work with absolutely anyone.
That's really cool. I'm from Russia originally. I moved here when I was 12, so I knew, the phonetics really helped. So do you have multiple locations? Do you like talk about the, how it's actually structured as far as like, come to your...
So here in Kansas City, we're an affiliate lab. The original labs were built in Reno, Nevada, and then up in the tri-state area in New York. And so there are labs all over the United States. We've got a lab in Australia. We're branching out to other countries as well. And we're all affiliated, but we're not a franchise. So that kind of sets us apart from some other agencies too, is that I'm a standalone clinic. It's the only one in Kansas City. So yeah, that's how our business structure.
That's cool. Has coronavirus and the shutdown and everything, has that affected you? And if so, in what way, and what have you done differently?
Yeah, our preferred enrollment, or our typical enrollment, is face-to-face. Learners come to us here at the lab, and everything is really interactive and engaging. We present a curriculum. Now it's built on an iPad, and so we kind of share the iPad back and forth during the session. We've had to take that virtual, which has been it's been a fun challenge to figure out how to keep kids engaged in that platform. So we are offering virtual enrollments. One of the biggest changes that we made is that we're a typical enrollment is the 50-hour structure that I talked about earlier. We're now offering week-to-week enrollments, and we do a mini assessment. We don't do the full comprehensive assessment, but that way, we can kind of supplement what the expectations the parents have for home school at home.
Because you're probably seeing a lot of those kids that are out of school because of the shutdown needing kind of a secondary source of education.
Yeah, you know, parents are figuring out what their kids don't know. You know, they have to sit down and do 5th grade level work with their son or daughter, and maybe that kid isn't ready for 5th grade level work, but they're in 5th grade, so that's what they're working on.
So have you seen a drop, nothing, or an uptick in enrollment?
We've stayed about the same.
Okay.
We're sitting at about the same. We have a couple more openings left for virtual enrollments, especially in this week-to-week format. So
yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I've been really curious to pay attention to is the educational paradigm shift that's been forced to take place in the last month or so. Because I'm talking to some teachers and stuff who really, I mean, it's like the wild, wild west right now. I mean, they're doing like it's all over the place. Some teachers are just doing it on their own. Basically, they're, do Google Scholar or Google Meet, Zoom, because schools were not prepared in any way to take this to a virtual, and I wouldn't even say virtual, just a malleable learning style. It's very rigid, obviously, and I think this is, as difficult as this time is right now, I think it's actually the spur of an incredible evolution in education.
Right, yeah, and we, the first week or so of all the stay-at-home orders, and when schools canceled for the first couple weeks right around spring break, parents, I saw all kinds of memes out on Facebook about like, hey, this kid needs to be suspended, or what, like, where's the substitute teacher, kind of stuff like that. And I think parents really realized just how hard educating their own kids could be, and having that expectation put in place, but also being mom or dad and running a business or continuing in their profession. That's one of the cool things that we're able to offer is alleviating that school at home expectation. And so,
I think you're from what I understand, your type of model is very well positioned at a time like this, where I think we're going to go to, I mean, obviously we're still going to have massive public schooling and things like that, but I think there's going to be a big drive from the public for a much more small, sort of individualized approach that is affordable also. That's not just for the people that can drop $45,000, $50,000 a year, So I think we are going to see a big shift towards that from the parents, because right now they're sitting at home dealing with kids who don't have, a curriculum. So, talk to me a little bit about, on the marketing side, have you made adjustments in how, obviously you're conducting virtual lessons, so that has changed, but has your messaging on the marketing end changed?
We're definitely working to pull in those virtual enrollments, which we really haven't done before. So we're trying to hit that audience of parents who have suddenly found themselves at home. Whereas in the past, most of our learners have come to us because they're experiencing challenges at school, and they're seeking outside support. In the current kind of climate now, and not that all public school kids weren't our audience to begin with, but now, I mean, now we really have an opportunity to reach a really large audience because we can take it off parents' hands. We can take that off their plates. So
yeah, that makes sense. I would imagine in the past it was a little bit more of an inbound situation where you had people coming to you with a very specific need and problem. Now it's more of, you still have that, but now you have this huge pool of potential customers and clients who are sort of just waiting to be, reached out to, I think, because they're probably, like you said, the parents are just sitting going, I don't know what to do. We've not been in this situation. So have you guys spent time, like, I'm sure you have, but talk to me a little bit about what adjustments internally you've made to maybe restructure how you are marketing, how you are approaching potential clients?
More focus on marketing, for sure. That would be our biggest change, is that we've really kind of gone from not that we haven't had to market, but a lot of our referrals come in as word of mouth. And so, you know, we push out a solid enrollment, and our goal is to always get kids back out the door. We don't want kids coming in forever and ever. We want them back in their classrooms doing the things they're supposed to be doing. But a lot of our enrollments tend to come from a word of mouth. You know, we knock out phenomenal results, and moms start talking to other moms, and then we start getting phone calls. At this point, though, I'm being more of a face for Fit Learning. I've pushed out some videos. I've worked to network with other business owners who are parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so really making a much stronger effort to connect with mom groups and parent groups and things like that.
What, if I may ask, in what capacity has that? You said you've been putting out videos and things, like what's been something that you feel like has really been worth your time to invest in?
You know, none of the things that I like. My videos haven't resulted in quick enrollments right away, but it's getting my name out there. It's getting the Fit Learning brand out there. And when I start talking to people in some of the groups that I've been active in, they know who we are, and they can speak a little bit about what we're doing and what our company is and what the focus is. And so people are getting familiar with us, and eventually it's going to land in the right hands, the person that needs it the most right now, and they're going to call, and we're going to get them up and going. So
that's a good, I think you've got the right approach to it, you know, because I think at a time like this, it could be tone deaf to come across too salesy and jump up to me. So I think this is a good time to just, like you said, put your name out there, make people familiar with what you do, and then hopefully when the need does arise, you're a top of mind for them.
Yeah, we're doing some Zoom meetings and Facebook Live stuff with a couple of groups where the focus of those sessions is kind of more on parenting tips and how to survive the school at home thing, instead of like a drive to get that enrollment or whatever. It's, well, here we know that we're not the answer for everybody. We know that every single family is not going to come enroll with us. Here's what you guys can be doing at home. You know, here are some of the behavioral strategies that if you're diligent, if you're willing to work and put them in place, the stuff will work for you, and everybody will be more productive and happier and more peaceful, things like that. So getting
really
some
cool.
of that.
I mean, it sounds like you have a very wholesome approach to it, and I like that. So what's the most rewarding part, you think, of what you do, and the thing that puts the biggest smile on your face?
So I'm thinking of a particular learner that I had in the lab just a couple months ago, who really came to me as a non-reader. I mean, he didn't have basic letter sounds. He didn't know that words strung together make a sentence, and sentences make a story. He had no convention of reading, and at one point during our session, he started to put he strung a sentence of words together, or a string of words together, and he looked at me and he's like, what? He read the sentence and knew what it meant, and I cried. He was like, what? Why are you crying? Because you just put it all together, man. Like everything we have worked on just fell together for you. So that has by far been the moment that sticks out at this point. On a more general level, though, seeing kids' confidence bloom. You know, a lot of times when we start with a learner, they're like coward and kind of real timid, and their voice is real low, and they're afraid to perform for us because they know that they're not strong readers. You know, their friends are reading better than they are. They're the kids in class who never raise their hand. And just a couple hours in, you start to see them, like, they'll sit up straighter and they'll respond louder, and you just know that they're gaining that confidence to believe in themselves. So.
Yeah. That's really cool, because that kind of confidence begets itself, because once they start to get a little bit, it expands into other things, not just, you know, how they act in school, but just how they are within themselves. You know, when I coach tennis, like, you would see that. You get the kids that maybe weren't the most athletic, and you could just, you could tell they, they probably get picked last and things like that. And then within a few weeks, they come out of their shell and it's a totally different person. So I think that's such an incredible life skill that extends far beyond anything that maybe you're doing that in that moment. So
right, definitely.
cool.
One of my other favorite things is when I had a family come back and tell me that they kept catching their daughter reading under the covers in bed instead of falling asleep like she was supposed to. And I'm like, yes, I did a phenomenal job.
That's the best. When they're sneaking extra reading at home. You've done your job.
We've done exactly what we set out to do.
Really cool. So what, as a community, as this platform, as small business owners, what can we do to help you get the word out? Talk about the social channels that we can promote and things like that.
Yeah, so we're pretty active on Facebook right now. That's where our videos are being posted, and so people can follow us at FitLearningKC on Facebook. That's probably the biggest channel for material at this point. I'm working to get a LinkedIn profile going so I can network a little bit better with referral sources.
Yeah.
So we really want to form some relationships with other professionals in the community who we can be referring to. If a kid comes to us with just a lot of times the academic deficits aren't the only thing that's going on, and when you've got a kid struggling in school, that could be translating to problems at home too, and we want professionals who we can refer to in those instances.
And I think in a time like this, especially, it's really important to connect with like-minded individuals and companies that sort of, like I actually had a conversation yesterday with Teresa, who runs a creative art studio, and very similar, approach to sort of supplemental teaching. We had, I kind of mentioned to her, like, if I come across the other companies that make sense, I think it's really important right now to lean on each other. So besides the Facebook, like, is it just getting more, more engagement, more brand recognition? That's kind of your main goal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we want people to know that we're here, and maybe the next mom that you talk to doesn't need our services, but they know that their neighbor does, and they know somebody in their son's class who would really benefit. So really, I mean, we're a small company. We're pretty new to Kansas City. We just want people to know we're here. So,
well, that was the entire, idea behind this, was to give a chance to small business owners to get out there and just tell their story. Because I think right now, so much of the time is we're trying to craft this perfect image because it's everybody going online and doing it. And sometimes it's just hard to come across genuine because we're all trying to put our best foot forward. So I wanted a longer format to give a chance to speak on your
I love it, because I generally don't get this opportunity to engage in this level of conversation with a lot of times people find out what we do, and they don't need us, so the conversation kind of ends because well, I don't have a kid who would need your services.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think video too, like, there's that connection. And then when people watch it, they may just like what you are, like, one thing, because I advise a lot of companies on their social media, and like I tell people all the time, just lean into your other strengths too and your other passions. Yes, we know that you're, FitLearningKC is what you're here for, but somebody who's a cyclist who has 2 kids might just fall in love with you because you talked about cycling for 5 minutes. So, those are very important parts of your personality, and I think it's hard to get that across in just a Facebook post or a picture. Sometimes you just got to have a conversation and then people see it. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been an awesome conversation. I have one lighthearted thing to finish with, because this has been a pretty, I guess it wasn't not lighthearted, but it was, serious. So I have this little speed round that I do. Although I'm afraid my first question isn't going to go over well because you said you could live without a TV. So you can say me.
I can answer. We're good.
So it's just a quick, basically a yes or no type question, or like a no thinking, pick one question. So I'm going to just throw them at you. Okay.
Thanks.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Last thing you bought on Amazon?
Materials for Fit Learning.
Beer or wine?
Vodka?
Love it. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Best barbecue in Kansas City?
Zarda's.
Okay. Wow. I get to hear interesting. So many different ones. Person you'd like to meet most?
Ooh. President Obama.
That's a good one. I've had 2 Oprahs. I had one other, I forget the other one. Oh, William Shatner, but he was a sci-fi guy. So, favorite superhero?
I'll say Superman. I'm so not a superhero person.
Your spirit animal. You can make one up if you want to.
I don't know. I'll have to go with dog just because that's what I'm thinking.
That's good. That's fair. And then one more, coolest spot in Kansas City.
Maybe Union Station, that area around Union Station.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ones. That's a tough question. I put some tough ones in there to try to stump people. But you did good. You made it out. No wrong answers.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Becky. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for this opportunity. I love that you're doing this for the